How are you there? I've got a prophetic word. This one is very different, it's very strange. Like Paul said, I do not know whether I was in the flesh or was in the spirit. Okay, but I was in the spirit. God took me in the spirit, actually, like an out of body experience, to some time in the future. Okay, I do not know how far in the future we were, but I know that I was not in my body. It was like I was a spirit, we were moving in the future somewhere. Okay, so I saw some housing developments in a country that looked like Zimbabwe. I think it is Zimbabwe. Whether it is Zimbabwe or South Africa or both, I'm not really sure because during the incident, there are places. Actually, let me just say I'm not really sure, but it is both Zimbabwe and South Africa. Let me just say that. In the future, it might actually be one country or something like that. I know that some borders might change in the future, and I do not know how far in the future was it. But then I saw some housing developments for, I'm not gonna say poor people, but for those people that are not the richest. I don't know what you call them, but these days we call them poor people. But during those times, they were not poor like now. So I don't know if you can still call them poor people, or let's God says call them low income earners. Yes, 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 yes. I saw the houses. Thank you, angel of the Lord. Just that word just came. I just saw a wave of a phrase coming to me. Low income earners. Yes. Thank you, Lord. Low income earners. It was in the future. Maybe it's 20 years from now, or it's 10, or it's 30, or it's 50, or it's 70. I do not know. But these were proper housing in the townships. You can call them townships because these are low income earners. But the houses were big. Some of them were flats. Okay, the flats were like this. It's like the ground floor will have two houses. The next floor, two more houses. Like it keeps on going up. Some of them were like 5 stories. So in those 5 stories, we get 10 homes, and each home had probably 3 or 4 bedrooms each. I mean, it wasn't 4 rooms. It was like maybe 6 or 7 rooms per person. I mean, per family, per home. And there was space, a lot of space for playing, for kids to play. Uh, it was a very good development, really. I mean, for low income earners, it really looked like they're living in the suburbs, even though these are the townships of the future, all right, in this Zimbabwe, South Africa that God is creating in the future. So in my mind, you see, when you're traveling in the spirit, God speaks as well. You see things and then you feel things. Sometimes when you're a spirit, you don't hear things. You actually feel them and know them. So as I'm saying that, as I was in the spirit, I could feel that it's in the future. I could see these low income earning houses. And then as we were moving, I was moving like a spirit. Like I didn't have a normal human body. It was like I was the air. It's like I was all over the place. I cannot say what kind of shape I was. I cannot say I had legs or no, I didn't have legs. I was just moving, just like moving like a wave. And then we went to this place. This one, I think it looked like Cape Town. Quickly, as I was passing there, the God gave me a mental picture of what it used to be in the past and what it's gonna be in the future. These are actually current suburbs right now. These suburban areas, rich people's areas right now. In the future, somewhere, one of them, I saw weeds. Weeds was growing, even though now it's a very nice, it's got nice gardens. But then in the future, this particular place, which God did not tell me exactly where it is, it looked like it's Cape Town. Okay, and there used to be rich people that used to live there. But then in the future, it will be like dilapidated. Can you imagine a dilapidated Constantia? I mean, look how beautiful Constantia is in Cape Town, or this Durbanville and all those rich people's areas. Imagine in the future when those people, I do not know whether the people were gone or what, but there were weeds and the grass was tall, and it wasn't well taken care of. But and in the past, which is now, these are the current nice properties sought after, multi-million rand properties. But in the future there will be weeds. But now let me say this: I'm not saying that all places that are currently rich right now will be like that in the future. I'm just talking about this one particular neighborhood which God took me to. But it felt as if it is a Cape Townian neighborhood. This one neighborhood. It felt as if it's Cape Town. And it seems like the rich people that used to stay there will not be staying there anymore. I would think that there would be there would be an economic collapse. I can draw parallels with some of the neighborhoods in Harare. I remember when I was very young, I used to go to Chesapeake, Highlands, and Borodale, all those rich neighborhoods in Harare. And later on in life, I did go again there, and I can even check some of them here on YouTube. I see that the places are now ugly. Okay, back then in the early 90s, they were very perfect, beautiful. The lawn was green and everything, but now even the roads are not well taken care of. So it was a similar situation of this suburb, which looked like in Cape Town. Straight afterwards, when I was in that vision, God took me through a bush. We just took a detour, got off the road. Since I was a spirit, I would pass through trees. Okay. My spirit would pass through trees. It was like a bush. But then I wasn't controlling myself where I was going. The Lord was controlling me. I could not see the Lord, but I knew that I'm not moving myself. Like something else is moving me, even though I'm a spirit. So it quickly took me into the bushes. Like, so it's the Holy Spirit, obviously. Took me into the bushes. As we're entering the bushes, I was a little bit scared, thinking I'm gonna see something that is sinister. But there was nothing. It was just bushes. So we increased in speed. We kept on moving in the bushes like for a long time, and then we got on the other side. I suppose now I think we're on the side of Zimbabwe now. I cannot tell you, like, since I told you that that neighborhood was in Cape Town, when I was on the other side, I speculate it was Zimbabwe. But then, as I'm telling you that these things are not certain, because God said that it could be Zimbabwe, it could be Johannesburg, it could be Johannesburg. Remember that it could be Johannesburg, it could not be Johannesburg. It could be somewhere in Zimbabwe. It could be Johannesburg. I hear the spirit say it could be Johannesburg because I do not know what the place is. Now that place, when I got over the bushes, I got into this open path. Remember, it's a vision. It's not even a dream. I'm not saying I was not dreaming. I know what a dream is. I was not dreaming. I was conscious. I was completely conscious. I was conscious of my surroundings. I was conscious that this is an out of body experience. I was conscious that this is the future. I was conscious that I am actually a spirit and I am not in the body. Fully conscious. So it wasn't a dream. And I was conscious that I was not dreaming. But this thing happened when I was sleeping, or when I was almost about to fall asleep. And then all of a sudden I was snatched and I was there and I was conscious that it's the future. And so as we move there across that thing, there was a fence, and I was moving along a fence, and then inside this place, okay, I cannot. There was a building inside. I could not see the building, but I could hear this time around. There was a building, and there were people inside this building. It looked like a political conference. Okay, now that is the most important part of the message that I want to talk about. I hope you are still hanging in here. It was a political conference. I could hear clearly what they were saying in that political conference. But as I was passing through, as I was there by the fence, I wanted to pass through the fence. I could not move. There was something that would. It looked like a laser beam or something like an electric fence, but the one that only traps spirits. Okay, because since I was a spirit, as I tried to push through that fence, I could almost like get electrocuted, but a spiritual electrocution. You know, it opened my eyes to see that I think a human being could pass, but a spirit could not pass. Since I was a spirit in that instance, I could not pass through that line. There were two lines, and then next to it, there's something that looked like a hologram on the ground. So this hologram was like this. It was like it was round. It was round, and then in the middle there was something that came up. That came up like this, like this. So you see, it's a circle. It's a circle with something that goes up like this. It was like a hologram. It was light. Like those graphics from Pokemon Go. Yeah. So and I went next to that thing, and out of it came something like power, like it would like something kind of like power, like an anointing. I could feel refreshed or energized through it. That is in the future. So as I'm listening to this political conference going on, that is an important message. In the future, there's this man who's speaking. Okay, this man speaks with an American accent. All right. But you could tell that it's either this man is in America. Well, since I know that I was not in America, but this man spoke with an American accent, which had a little dilution with some accent from another country, which I do not know whether it's an African country or whatever. But it was an American accent, and I could feel that it's a white person's accent. It's a white man. The conference of it reminded me of these American conferences, this DNC conferences, or these Republican Party conferences. It was like that. It wasn't like the ANC conferences. The ANC conferences are just they're local. They're not very. They don't have much technology. See that one, those DNC ones, they look like the Grammys, they look like the Oscars awards or something. So it was a conference like that. Okay, you could see that there was a lot of high tech, and there was a speaker. Like if someone is about to speak, they will introduce and say, "We're introducing so and so to speak," then the person will come and speak. So it was that. It was like that, just like they do it in the Grammys, and just like they do it at the Republican and Democratic American conferences there. Not like the ZANU-PF or the ANC, which doesn't have much technology, which doesn't have a loudspeaker. They just, it's very primitive. So this one was very advanced, very rich, but it was in Africa. Johannesburg was Zimbabwe, somewhere between Zimbabwe and Johannesburg, somewhere in there. It's what God is saying. It is somewhere in there. And this thing, this vision, it wasn't a vision of the future. I was actually in the future. This day, this thing is going to happen. This thing I'm gonna tell you, it is going to happen because I saw it. God had to take me to the future. God had to take me so that I can see it, hear it, and know that it's in the future. But I am not aware of the meaning of it all. So I will leave the riddle to you. Maybe you'll also know what it would mean or what it means. So this guy starts speaking. Since they are at a political conference, he addresses the president of that time. I do not know who the president of that time is, but it's either the president of that time was in that same audience. Maybe this is a party conference, and the president of that time is also a member of that party, or the president is not a member of that party. I do not know, but the person speaking was speaking to Mr. President. He was saying, "Mr. President, say," as if the president is listening. So I'm not certain if that person was speaking to a president who was seated there, or or it's an opposition party talking to a president who is not there. Like, it's possible for the Democrats to address a Republican president even if he's not there at the conference. You understand? It's possible for the EFF to hold a conference and talk about the ANC president even if he's not there. So I'm not sure. It's most likely that the president was there. He says, Mr. President, ever since, he says some words that I forgot. Ever since of the beginning of that, it's either he's talking about the beginning of his presidency or the beginning of that political era. So this man addresses the president and says, Mr. President, ever since the beginning of this era, whatever era it was, but it looked like a very successful era. And then he goes like, Christians have been having these problems, A, B, C, D. He begins to list the problems that Christians have been facing ever since the beginning of this era, whatever. But this man looked like he's also a politician. I think he's a politician / Christian, or he's a pastor, maybe. It's most likely that he was a pastor. Maybe he's not a politician. Maybe he's a pastor who was invited to speak at this conference, this political conference. So he begins to speak on behalf of the Christian community. Okay, I'm sure the president was listening. But I must say that this era was a very successful era. You know, these times in the future, this political dispensation that I saw was very successful. It was successful. People were happy. Everything was cool. Oh, thank you, Father. Oh, yes, Lord. Yes, King. Thank you, Lord. God just reminded me of something. Now, whilst I was seeing these guys talking, I'm gonna go back to what other things they were saying. But I wanna move to something, then I'll come back. Whilst they were speaking, my spirit began to move. Since I could not pass through the fence, I moved backwards. As I moved backwards, I went into the city, or I was entering the city of that place. It looked like a small city in the future, because I would suppose that God will take me to a mega polis, with tall buildings of the future, but not this one. This one, actually, it was the town of it. We were there in the town, and then there were not tall buildings. I mean, the tallest building there, it looked like 5 or 6 stories tall. But actually, it wasn't exactly 6 stories. It was just as tall as something that is 6 stories. 6 stories. It had a funny shape. Thank God I have this thing. Yeah, thank you, Lord. You're wonderful. I was gonna find it difficult to illustrate the shape of this building. It's a building, right? On one side, the architecture is like this. It's open, it's like there's a sea. It's like this in the air, like this. Like in the middle, there is open space. Around it, it's a building. But then on top of it, how do I do this? This poverty now of not having proper equipment. Let me show you. Since this is the sea, all of this here is a building. Even here underneath there is a building. And in the middle here is open space. It's just weird design. I've never seen it anywhere. It's a weird design. In the middle is a sea. It's like it's a proper house, and then someone cuts and put something like a sea like this. But you will see that there's windows. There's windows here. There's windows all over the place. It means, but then the shape of the building goes like this, and then comes down again. It looked as if like it's a church. Maybe I'm speculating. So I couldn't understand what's the meaning of that sea. Now I'm thinking, the sea, does it mean Christ? What is it, a half a crescent? Is it in Islam? But no, but Islam mosques, and that's not the shape of a Islam mosque. I said Islam mosque, the dome, but the top wasn't a dome. Instead of being a dome, the top was a sea. It was open like this, like a sea. So I do not know what that sea represented. Maybe it represented Christ. Maybe. Also, including that thing that I saw, that I told you that is round. and then there's something up in the middle. It looked like a symbol. Okay, so I do not know what that symbol represents in the future. You see, when you enter toilets, you see these rounds in toilets, and then they've got something that goes up, and then it's a cross. In toilets, it's a cross. I think, is it female or male? I think it's a cross, and then there's a round at the bottom. In that one, there was a round at the bottom, and then there's a stick in the middle. It's not a cross, but it's just a tall thing, just one thing going up like this. So I do not know the meaning of that. Those two symbols are very significant in this vision. And it seems like they were symbols that were known at that time, but I do not know what they represent. All right. So this city was a small city. Oh, God just reminded me that the reason why it was in the vision, I was wondering, why is it like this? Why is it small? Why is it this town small? Yet these guys, they look like they're in an upmarket convention. These are the leaders of the country. God just said to me, it's because that city, that town that I show you, is a town in the future, but it is a small town in the country. That's why I didn't see any tall buildings. It was a small town, a very small, obscure town in the country. You know, like the ANC likes doing this. They like going to, they go to what do you call it? They go to Mangaung, they go to whatever. They go around the small towns holding conferences. So even this time around, these guys, this party that was leading, I think that was the ruling party in the future. They were holding this conference in a small town in the country. And the country looks like Zimbabwe, South Africa. I've got a strong feeling that in the future, Zimbabwe and South Africa are going to be one country, one way or the other. Maybe not all of Zimbabwe, maybe not all of South Africa, or maybe some parts of South Africa and some parts of Zimbabwe, maybe in some parts of Botswana. I know that there's going to be disruption in the border system. The borders are going to be changed. But in this distant future, it seems like Zimbabwe, South Africa, I think some parts of Botswana, it felt as if it's like one country. Okay, something like that. Or something of that nature, which is not like what I might be wrong by saying it's exactly one country. Maybe there's another arrangement that I am not aware of right now, that we have never thought of. Maybe I do not know, but it will not be as things are today. But there will be another arrangement, another political arrangement. So God says that this is one of the small towns. Okay, God says one of the small villages. Okay, it's a village actually. God says it's a village somewhere in South Africa's Zimbabwe. So I do not know the name of this new country, but this new country will constitute of Zimbabwe and South Africa, possibly parts of Botswana, if not all of it, and also possibly parts of Mozambique. Holy Salud, Ribo Shakandara Labo. And this is the future. I said I do not know how far in the future. It could be 50 years from now. It could be 20 years from now. It could be 100 years from now. I'm not sure. God is not revealing that stuff to me right now. He said that son is one of the villages. Possibly Limpopo, maybe. Something like that. It looked like something like Limpopo because it was a green place. Limpopo is green. Right? There's part of Limpopo at least where it's green. It's a green area. Okay. So it's the savannah region. And God says it's a village. It's not even a town. It says no. It's not even a town. It's a village. So I understand now, okay. But that village was very developed. As I said that I went to a town. The first thing that I saw in the town was a garage. But since it's futuristic, it didn't look as futuristic as when people talk about the future. We're thinking of flying cars, and robotics. The only thing that I saw in that future was the hologram. Okay, hologram technology. But as far as that garage was concerned, that garage still looked like a normal Caltex garage. Even that building still just looked normal, except that the shape of it was funny. The shape of a sea. There were trees. There were lots of trees. That's the thing. It was very green. Lots of trees. So that is why some of the buildings were submerged under the long trees. And there were not many high. There was not even one high rise. building in this city center that was in this city center. The highest building was this church, that one that looked like a C. I don't know if it's a church or not, but I could hear the voice talking there. That voice that was talking from this conference center. Even the conference center, I couldn't see it. I could just see trees. So the conference center was hidden under the trees. So the trees were taller than the actual conference building. So that I could hear clearly the voices, but then I could not see even the building of the conference center. I could see that this is the direction where these voices are coming from. But yeah, but I could see that it is very high tech. The technology we used there was the high technology that I maybe, I mean, like I could see that this is Zimbabwe, South Africa, Botswana, Mozambique country of the future. It's going to be world class. It is like a first world country. Okay, thank you, Lord. That is the reason why I hate this man with an American accent, because I'm sure in the future there's going to be a lot of American influence. All right. So there is a possibility of the United States having or facing some kind of existential threat, such that there will be an exodus of Americans, okay, black Americans and white Americans alike. In the future, they shall come and become part of this country, okay. So this country becomes therefore the superpower of the world. This is Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, Mozambique, and this is a sketch diagram. Like, don't quote me exactly, like for it. Maybe it will be a one part of Mozambique or the whole of Mozambique. Maybe there will be Malawi or not. Maybe there will be Zambia or not. Maybe it's part of Zimbabwe or all of it, or maybe it's all of South Africa or parts of it. I cannot really tell you that now. But I know that in the future, this country or this political association is going to be the most dominant or one of the dominant regions in the world, very important politically. So this president was sitting there, and so this guy who has got this American accent, clearly he's probably an ex-American. He's a white man, but he's probably was born in the United States of America, or maybe his parents were born in the United States of America, or his grandparents were born in the United States of America. But during those times, they will actually be citizens of this Southern African country. And this man I heard him speaking at a political party convention of the future. Okay. So now, there is some revelations already from what I'm telling you. The revelation is that, number one, borders are going to be changed. We shall have many of these countries in Southern Africa shall become one country. Number two, something disaster will happen in the United States of America. The Americans are going to leave that United States, that place where they live. They're going to come to Southern Africa and they're going to establish themselves here in Southern Africa. White Americans as well. That's why that guy had an American accent, even though that American accent is a dilution of another accent, probably our African accent. Imagine if someone with an American accent grows up in Africa and has children here who still keep that accent, but then it's diluted with local dialect. That's why it was a strange accent, but I could tell it's American, yet it's diluted with something else. And I could tell it's a white man talking. And he's talking to Mr. President, addressing that man as if like this is his country too. You understand? So this Southern Africa is going to be a country also for these Americans that are going to be here. So he directs, and I see that he's a Christian. He politely speaks. It's not like he wasn't, what can I say? He wasn't protesting that Christians are mistreated. No, he was just speaking on behalf of the Christians. That is in the distant future. Maybe it's 50 years from now. Maybe it's 10 years. Maybe it's 30 years. Maybe it's 100 years or 150 years. I'm not sure. So he speaks on behalf of the Christians to this president, right? And God doesn't show me who the president is. And I like the way that God did it. When I was in that vision, now he increased the volume of the guy that was speaking. I could hear it so much that it could almost hurt my ears, my spiritual ears. I could not see them. As I told you that I was a spirit, but somehow I could hear. Somehow I had ears. because I could feel pain in my ears because that the volume was just was made to be larger or to be bigger so that I could hear clearly. I heard the guy clearly. I could hear the guy clearly. Now, let me take you out again. Let me go back. Something I missed when I was passing through the bushes. Okay, as I told you that we passed through the bushes. I left Cape Town in this dilapidated city. This used to be obviously. This speaks of maybe an industry moving from a town, maybe a town becoming a ghost town or something. But it's not like it was deserted. There were people living there, but you could say that it used to be the former rich place, but now the rich people are no longer living there. Probably lower income earners are living there. Maybe some houses are not even. Some houses were deserted. Some houses there was no one because I could see that the grass was long. It was like grass, normal grass. It was long. It's like nobody was taking care of this place anymore. But I'm sure that some people were living there. I could equate it to some cities in the United States that they call the Rust Belt. Okay, there is cities in the United States that used to be big in car industry. All right. So when vehicle manufacturing industry died in the United States and they took it to China, there is some cities that died. Talk of Chicago itself. Talk of some villages, some towns in Illinois, USA, and some places in there's these ghost towns, man, in the United States, in Central America, in Central Rural America. If you go through YouTube, we check how they look like. You see, I could equate them to that. They look old. They look deserted. That is the place. Either it's directly Cape Town or near Cape Town. So that place was deserted. That neighborhood. It might be an indication of a loss of income in a certain industry in that part of Cape Town. So maybe God was showing me that, son, even in the future, do not think that development means that every place will be rich. There will be some places that will be elevated, and some places that are gonna die a natural death, and it's okay. Okay, some places will die a natural death. So some towns do not need to be saved. Some economies do not need to be saved. They need to let die because the business has stopped. Maybe it was a mining town. There's no more minerals that mine. It's no use to try to prop up something that is not working. Or even the people of that place have moved on to other places. So maybe you should just leave it, let it die, and let it have another lease of life through other things. If not, it becomes a desert for jackals or whatever. Then the people will go somewhere else. Because in this village that I was seeing, okay, that village it looked like it's a small village. God say it's a small village, but the development in it. But when I say development, I don't mean high-rise building. There was a lot of trees. It was very green. Yet I could see that the people there, the economy is good. Okay, the people are rich, but they're in a village. All right. Now, before I went in that place where there's a conference, I clearly heard the voice of God speak to me in that bush. I know it was God. I knew it was Him, and I heard Him very, very clearly, and He was speaking very loud. He says, "And I make you live." Okay, with a deep voice. I don't have a deep voice, unfortunately. It says, "And I make you live, and I make you live." Like I make you live. I make you live. I still do not know exactly what it means by I make you live. As if like okay, you are saying it is me, the Lord, who causes you to live. Who causes you to okay, thank you, Lord. I make you live means that I breathe on you as a nation. Okay. I breathe on you as a nation and then you begin to live as a nation. Because right now we're a dead nation, we're troubled. So God is gonna breathe upon us and then it's gonna quicken our bones and then things are going to happen. We're going to be established as a powerful nation in the whole world. So don't play. Holy is the Lord. Mariambo, Ezenba, Rebo Shakandara Labo. Holy. And then, so now, and Rebo Shakandara Labo. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to highlight that before I go on further. What I heard in that political conference. So after this man steps down, there's a voice of a commentator. I think it's a lady. Like they do at the Grammys when someone is about to come on stage. They'll say, "So and so is coming to present this award for what." In that one, they say the guy was coming. Also, it was a man, and he was white, and he was of United States of America ancestor. You see, his ancestors were from United States of America. These are the white people that are in United States today. They are Americans today, but in the future they shall migrate from USA, come here. So one of their grandsons, whenever it is in the future, his name is Jason, because this lady who was announcing said that, and next to come is Jason from the show, blah blah blah. And then she spoke the name of the television show. And then I discovered something that God began to interfere with my hearing purposefully, so that I do not know all the details. So this man, his name is Jason something, and the lady say he is from the television show. What? She spoke the name. But when she was speaking the name, my hearing was interfered, so that I could not hear what is the name of the show. But the name I heard, his name is Jason. Jason something from the television show. What. So this guy is a celebrity in the future. He's a celebrity in the future. So as he's a television actor, I think, then he goes there to that political conference to speak. And then he says what he says. And then whilst he was speaking, God began to feel that voice that was coming from this, so that I do not hear what the guy was saying. So as I moved in, I was moving into the city to see the city. And I told you that as I was moving in, the tallest building was this building with a C, with a funny shape on the top. It probably was the height of 7 or 8 stories. I do not know, or maybe more, or maybe I don't know. I'm not really sure, but it was the only building that was coming over the trees. Okay, there were many other buildings lower than it because that was the central city, central business district, but it was very green. There were many trees, so most of the buildings were shorter than the trees, and I could tell that it's a central business district, but it was very. It looked like it looked like a forest. Okay, because it's different from the towns right now. The towns that we have right now, I mean, there's hardly any tree in town. Okay, tall buildings, glass buildings. In this one, the environment. I think this town is very environmentally aware. This village, very environmentally aware, but I could feel that the technology and the progress, the economy of that place was very strong. The people were rich, okay, and even the garage that I saw, it was a normal Caltex Sasol garage that we see here in South Africa. It's just a normal garage. Even the tire road, I could see that I actually did see something like a pothole, meaning that it's okay, it's normal. They're still gonna be having potholes in the future. So this garage was just on the outskirts of the town as we are entering the town. Okay, this rich town. So you could see that okay, you still have dustinyana. There was some kind of dust, like even the tired road is like getting into the garage. Since I told you that it's like a forest, there's some parts where there was no tar. It was like a dust road. Then to go under the shade, and behind that is just a lot of trees, lots of trees, wilderness. I couldn't even see the houses. I could feel them, but I couldn't see them because it was just like a dense forest. And then as I was moving up in the air, suddenly I began to shake and and to move out of that experience. That's the word I'm looking for. I began to fizzle out. It was like just let me leave it. These days the devil attacks my brain when it comes to words. Oh God. My vocabulary is now up to here. I forget words easily. So I began to phase out slowly. As I was phasing out of that place, I could feel myself reappearing again in the body here where I am. I appeared again in the body, so my spirit was back in the body. So it's where like my spirit began to move from where it is, travel all the way. No, I just like disappeared slowly there where I was in the future and began to appear in the body. It's like as if I was coming back in the body, like my consciousness and whatever spiritual thing it is, however it comes back, I found it in my reappearing here. So it disappeared there and began to appear here, and I felt like I'm in my body again, and I was awake. I wasn't sleeping, so it wasn't a dream. So like, and then I came to the body, and then I woke up from the dream. No, I just came to the body, and I was like, okay, I'm here again. There wasn't like came to the body and then woke up. No, 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 no. Even when that spirit was entering the body, I could feel now that okay, now I am reappearing on the inside of a body, human body. You know, when I'm on the inside, my eyes were opened, and I am here. All right. And I liked the way that the Lord did it. That nothing was scary. It looked okay. It looked normal. And then I'm like, I was just looks like I just traveled into the future. Do you know? For you do not know. You do not know actually. I've got a fascination with time travel. I love time travel. I want to know about time machines. I wish I could travel to the past. I always wish I could travel to the future. And I am so excited that God gave me a vision of time travel because that was the future. That event I saw. Okay, it's not a vision. It's a difference. It's not a vision. It was time travel. I went to the future. I saw it. It is going to happen, or it has already happened. Okay, since we're living in this dimension where there is time, where this is 2022, this is August 2022 as I speak this thing. But the future has already happened. Okay, the future has already happened. It's just that we have not yet experienced it because we are beings who are living in this dimension. For you to see it, if you get out of this dimension, go to higher dimensions, and you're taken to the future, you can actually see. So I always read a lot about time travel, what people think about it, how possible it is. People talk about if you go to the past and kill your grandfather, will you still be alive, and stuff like that. So, but then I've always said that when I speak to my one of my friends who was crazy with time travel, just like me, I say to him, I don't think we can go to the past and kill your grandfather. Because if you go to the past, you will just be an observer. You will not be able to change the past. And you cannot interact with those people. I will always say to him that I think that time travel is about just going to observe, not to change anything. And the people in there will not see you, will not be able to see you. Whatever format that you are, you're just like someone watching a video. You see, as I'm talking to you right now, so you are watching this thing not live because I recorded this thing. You cannot get inside this video and change what I'm saying because I've already said it. And I cannot see you. I am seeing my camera. I'm seeing the camera of my phone today. Yeah, this one. That's what I'm seeing. You cannot come and see me. Okay, you okay, by watching this video, you are actually going to the past to see me doing what I'm doing right now. You understand? That is your version of time travel. You are actually seeing the past, but you cannot come and change it. So my theory is that you can go to the past, we can go to the future, we can have a time machine. But whatever you do there, you cannot change because you are not going to be part of it. You're just going to be an observer. In fact, you're going to be what do you call it? A spirit, maybe. You know, to them will be a spirit because they're just an observer. I don't think that your interaction with that universe will change that universe materially, because if you were never there, you were never there. You cannot go to a place that you were never there in the first place. And that's it. So I think it's a matter of this mathematical time travel. So for me, I did not interact with the people in the things in that future, except that I told you that when I wanted to pass through this thing, this fence, there were two lines. These lines were shining, right? As they could block my spirit from entering in there. I think that there was a protection in this dimension of the spirit. I don't think it's got anything with the dimensions of mankind. I don't think that people can put up a fence against spirits. I think it's something that was put in that dimension that I was at. And even this 3D thing that I saw is probably something that can be seen by spirits in that dimension, or time travelers or whatever in that dimension, and not it wasn't seen by people who are in the physical. So I think that even the spirits that we interact with, talking about demons and angels, I do not think that they are in the future or in the past. I think they are here now. They are also part of us. That's why we feel them. That's why we experience them. We interact with angels and demons and God. They're just in the now. Okay. Those that are coming from the past or from the future to now, we cannot see them. We cannot interact with them. They cannot interact with us. That's my theory. And I feel like my theory was proved by this out of body experience that I had, because I knew that whatever I was just a listener, okay, an observer to what was going on. I was not interacting with that environment to change it whatsoever. Okay, so but then now, if I did go to the future and come back and talk about it now, what bearing is it got? Is there a material change? Will the future change because I saw it and I come back and I speak about it? But definitely, that thing that I saw is going to happen. But now that I'm saying this, does it mean that I can change it? But it was a good future. Let's say somebody wants to change it. Does it mean that that person can successfully change it because of hearing what I'm saying? Or does it mean that even what I'm saying is now part of the history of that place? So there's still some questions there that are also to not even know. There's some scientific questions there. Okay. Yeah, because I did see. I think there'll be Americans in Southern Africa. Let's say you wanna stop it. They say, oh, you saw Americans in Southern Africa. Let me do all I can to stop it from happening. Will you succeed to do that? Or the fact that you are trying to stop it from happening is what will actually capitulate to that thing to happening? Now, if you had a factor in causing it to happen because of listening to this video, what if I did not speak about it? Would it have happened? Those are questions that are, are still not known. I still do not know the answer, because I'm fascinated by that time travel and the future. Can you change the future? Can you change the past? I'm actually not interested in changing the future or the past. I am more interested in knowing the past so that I can know what happened, and and I want to know the future just for the fascination of it, you know. So, but I do not know if we can change the future. But all I know is that we can shape the future right now. We can shape the future ourselves, whichever way we want it to be like. You can disagree with the future I'm talking, and you can work hard against that future. But if it indeed is going to happen, it's going to happen. And then it becomes prophetic. So which means in this instance, this prophetic is telling you about something that is definitely going to happen. There's no way you are going to change it. In the Old Testament, they prophesied about the coming of Jesus and his crucifixion. But even in the Old Testament, it wasn't clear that Jesus is going to be crucified. God is going to become man. We talked about Emmanuel, a savior who's going to save Israel. They thought of a politician. They didn't think of God coming to die on the cross for us. So even if when Jesus came, you see, remember when King Herod knew that the child of prophecy had been born, he tried to persecute Jesus. Jesus went to Egypt for 2 years. And that happened because it had been prophesied already. Somebody had gone to the future and saw it and went back to the distant part and wrote in the book of Isaiah and all those other prophets. They wrote about the coming Messiah. So when Herod heard of it, and the guys of what do you call it, the 3 wise men. So Herod tried to stop it, to stop the Lord, but he failed. But what I'm saying is that he tried to do it because of what was written in prophecy. And prophecy is essentially some type of time travel, in a way. Okay. So what I'm saying, these prophetic time travelers, Daniel. I mean, look at Daniel. Daniel talked about the statue that represented the kingdoms. Indeed, it happened the way Daniel said it. Even now, prophetically, now it's time for God to bring the stone from heaven to crush the feet of the statue that Daniel saw, for the sun to establish the kingdom of God on earth. It shall grow and cover the whole earth and rule for 1,000 years. That's what Daniel told us. And we think it's going to happen. It's prophetically within the church. But there will be people who will still try to stop it. What's my conclusion? You cannot stop God. If God said this is going to happen, it's going to happen. We can try to stop him, but one way or the other, he will succeed. But the scientific question still remains that you are trying to stop something because you hate the prophecy. If you do not hate the prophecy, you're not going to try to stop it. So what influences what is a question of the chicken and the egg. I mean, it's for geeks like me, it's actually a very fascinating question. Okay. Goodbye. I'll catch you on the next one. My name is Ngobani Zondo, and this is the Real Zondo Commission. Goodbye.